Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of beloved Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Let's begin this evening's offering by our prayer and then we'll continue our journey. Please join me in this prayer. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. This journey with Ram Katha is an amazing journey of learning, and we are blessed, I feel, in a way that we are able to study this most important and beautiful character written in epic format, narrated by Bhagwan himself. Today we are what traditionally is called as a Yuddha Kand. We have entered the phase of war. But even in this phase of war, we are blessed to see so many beautiful characters, and the way Ramayana has been narrated by Swami Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, that he brings out these beautiful characters in their pristine way, which makes us realize how important it is to study these kind of scriptures. I have been always thinking about it, when my small children kids ask me that you read any of the scriptures, it's only filled with fighting and war and all that. Hi Jagdish, Sairam Bhaiya, welcome. And it's a general thought, Jagdish, I've been noticing that even my niece and nephews, other children would ask, that brother, even if we look at any story, you take any Puranas, anything, it's all filled with wars and fighting. Krishna was born and he started killing people. So you seem to be wondering, like, why there is so much of violence? Why the narration is always, filled with these kind of activities, as if Avatar comes for that. And that is how we also, I think, get tempted to define Avatar as, yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam, So we get into that he comes to kill, he comes to destroy. It appears like that. But here we have an Avatar who changed this definition. He said, for killing or destroying, I don't need to come. I can do it anyway. But I come for a different purpose, and the purpose is to bless my devotees and to give them that union, that affection, that love, which is otherwise not possible. So when I was contemplating reading this, studying this Swami Ramkatha Rasvahini, and we all discussed it, that we noticed the narration part of Bhagwan, how he has underplayed in a way all the war and fighting scenes, which gets usually highlighted by other narrators or even in movies and all that. Those parts are like mentioned as a by the way thing. Because Ram is going to forest, so he killed XYZ. Because he's passing through that and they are disturbing, and he said, just get out. So it is basically, he's mentioning about them, but they are presented in a way as if it is barely of any consequence. But what is important is Shabri is important. Guha is important. So Yudhishthir, what do you call this? Even in the fighting, you see Marich, his inner conflict is important than killing the Marich. So it is not the whole approach of looking at Ramayana. When I look at like that, then I realize that in the whole phase of Ram, who was, as per scriptures, who lived for around say 60,000 years, something odd, and 20,000 years was like, he was ruling for 11,000 years. So imagine out of 11,000, only 20,000, 20 years, he had practically done all this fighting and all that. Even in the fighting part, he has done so many, liberations. If you look at the story of liberations. But unfortunately, our narration always stops at, these killings and fights with the counters. But otherwise, if you look at Ramayan, there is so much to talk and so much to learn from that. So, Jagdish, before we jump into the real flow, let me have you for your opening statement and thoughts. Jagdish, you are on mute.
Is it okay now?
Yes, yes, yes. Now you're fine.
Okay, all right. No, it's a great topic that you started off with, Bhaiya. Sairam, Sairam to all the viewers also. Um, One thing that I would like to mention before we jump into these things is, like you beautifully pointed out, Swami in one of his discourses he mentioned very clearly that in the previous yugas, whatever you see in the Puranas, in the Satya Yuga or in the Treta or the Dwapara Yugas, all the evil in the society was everywhere. It was not everywhere. It was basically concentrated in a number of people, and those are the people who are termed as Rakshasas. In fact, Rama did try to change them in many ways. And when they did not change, finally, what is left is for them to be punished. And that is the path that he took. Swami also mentioned that in Kali Yuga, however, this evil is so spread into all of humanity and into the hearts of many of these people that, killing is not an option anymore. Because, it would mean he would have to dissolve the whole of creation. And with all karma which is still pending, with so many of these jivas, if he would just kill and clean the slate again, that in a way would not make justice, I think. And therefore I think it is only Swami that that fits that word which is there in the Sai Pancharatna Kritis, which says apara jana parivartana daksham. Says, he is capable of transforming humanity, transforming the whole of humanity. In fact, it is not one or two people. He is capable of transforming the whole of humanity. So our Swami comes with that unique mission in his avatar. While the avatars of Rama and Krishna, they did bless people. Probably they were not during the avatars journey, probably they were not directly identified as Bhagavan. In the case of Krishna, yes, he was. In the case of Rama also, yes. In fact, in the later part of Rama's journey, after the war is over, etc., um, he is also identified as Brahman. But our Swami, throughout his life, he has totally given it to us devotees. And he has made that great attempt and given us great discourses. And these are basically that rope he has thrown for us, which we can basically catch hold of and go up in our spiritual journeys, right? So that is beautiful. In fact, one other parallel I would like to strike here. um, in one of the discourses in Trai, in fact, Swami, he mentioned this in one of those Trai sessions that I was part of. He said that, if you take the dhyana shloka, you were mentioning about the yuddha kanda, and basically Swami not going into a lot of the narration of the war itself, right? Swami, I think, is totally to the point, even in the sense that he mentioned in this Trai session that uh, when you describe other deities, for example, you describe Mother Gayatri, you describe what she is holding in her hand. The dhyana itself is like that. What, how many faces she has, what color those faces are, what kind of mukut she is wearing, what is there on her mukut, that Chandrama is there on her mukut. All those description is there. And if you see any deity's description, it is like that. But what Swami said is, it seems when we have to meditate on Swami, it is his face and then directly his feet. He said there is no need to, meditate on these limbs, etc. You meditate on my feet and then you look at my face. That's all Swami said. So he has kind of made it so easy for the multitude to actually follow, the spiritual path. With that, let's move ahead. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so our story was when Lakshmanji is Murshid and Hanuman has been instructed or given the responsibility to get Sanjeevani, and that is where the story had led us to Ayodhya. On his return, Hanumanji is flying back over Ayodhya when our Bharat sees him and mistakes him to be some kind of Rakshas who's heading southward where Ram is. So, in that anticipation, presumably, Bharat shoots an arrow which brings Hanuman down with the mountain. And that is where the two great devotees, Hanuman and Bharat, meet. And that is a point we had discussed in our last episode also, in which how Hanuman and Bharat get introduced and they have a conversation in which Hanuman explains to Bharat about the situation and then Bharat repents kind of, and that's how the story has grown. And we realized a beautiful thing there, as we discussed last time, Jagdish, that how these two devotees have met and they are discussing. So I thought it is worth it if we can, share few more thoughts in the same context. And I just want to let you know that brother Anil is also online, but unfortunately he's in a place where video connectivity is bad. So brother Anil, you are on the audio mode with us. So please feel free to jump in whenever. Okay. And I think
There.
we have, yes, Sairam
Are you
Brother.
able to hear me? Yeah.
Yes, yes, your audio is very clear. Unfortunately, we
Oh,
can't see you. So you can then.
yeah, yeah. Connection is poor. Yeah.
Okay. So no problem. So we'll continue with that thought that, talking about our Bharat and Hanuman, I just wanted to throw a thought and let me hear your views on it because as we know the story that Bharat meets and then Bharat makes a comment at the end that if I have adored Ram to my word, thought, word, and deed, and not deviated from this path, let this Vanara be restored to his original health and strength. And that is how Hanuman gets his strength back. Now, looking at this beautiful, meeting between the two devotees, we are here, trying to decipher and learn more from these two characters. So, one who has actually both of them had Hanuman Ram in their physical proximity, but in these 14 years, Bharat lived with Ram's thought and memories, whereas Hanuman totally dedicated himself in the service of Lord. So it's a very beautiful journey that Hanuman probably would have met him only in the last, I would say, year, right? Yes, it is not even 1 year complete with Hanuman.
Yeah.
And so you have 14 years of Bharat penance to see Ram, and here Hanuman, who has been waiting for so-called Ram, and meets him only for last 1 year. So one has Sannidhi or Sayudyam, sorry, uh, what do you call that? Samipyam,
Sadhokhyam Samipyam. Yeah.
Samipyam, and Bharat has jumped from Samipyam to the memory of Lord and is converted into Sayudyam. So let us hear these thoughts, this approach of comparison between these two beautiful devotees. Let me open this floor and Jagdish, you can start and then Brother Anil can join in.
Certainly, yeah. It is interesting to note here that Hanuman, who has been if you look at the Sundarakanda, there are 80,000 Rakshasas who come onto Hanuman at once. Okay, and Hanuman is such a warrior that 80,000 is like you know it's like child's play for him. He just finishes them off, and there are streams of blood flowing across Lanka and all that. That kind of a warrior, and he shot down by one arrow, just one arrow that is from Bharat. This is I think here we also must see that in the larger scheme of things, in the divine play, it must be Paramatma's will that something like that should happen. Albeit, it is that timelessness of this Paramatma of Ramachandra, which also is shown very beautifully here, that in a situation like this, where it is where you need that Sanjeevani urgently, at that time he decides to fit in something like this, a scenario like this, wherein these do, I think the bigger purpose in the whole drama of sending Hanuman to bring Sanjeevani and all, yeah, the nimitta is there, the end result is there for us all to see. But I think the real reason why he was sent there was for this Bharata Hanuman Sambhashana, probably. Because there and also one great thing, two other things that I would like to highlight here is Bharata. The greatness of Bharata is that he is described as Brahmarshi Samatejasaha. So if you look at contrasts in the Ramayana, right, people who have achieved Brahmagyana, who have become Brahmarshis, okay, you get a very beautiful example in Vishwamitra. And Vishwamitra's penance is shown in a gradual and in a beautiful manner, wherein he goes stage by stage, becomes a Rajarshi, becomes a Rishi, becomes a Maharshi, becomes a Brahmarshi, etc. Okay, and for each of these stage upgrades, right, he takes about 1,000 years each. And and what kind of penance, if you look at Vishwamitra's penance, hair will actually stand on end. It is amazing. He puts 5 fires, Panchagni. Okay, there are 5 fires around him, the Surya being the fifth fire, and he does penance in that. And in the end stages of his penance, it seems there was smoke coming out of him. That kind of tapas he does, and finally he becomes a Brahmarshi. And here we have Bharata on the other side, where we see that Bharata just has these 14 years that he has pined for Rama, for sure, and he has done his duty 100%. And in the end, when Rama comes to meet him, he says, Rama, this is the Rajyam, this is the kingdom that you gave me. I give you back this kingdom tenfold, he says. I have, in this 14 years, increased the capability of this kingdom tenfold, is what he says. So that is the kind of offering that Bharata has made. And in the end, um, um, Valmiki Maharshi says that Bharata is Brahmarshi Samatejasaha. In 14 years, Bharata has become a Brahmarshi. And while Valmiki and other sages took thousands of years to reach the same level, right? So this is that kind of a Brahmarshi, and that is why, even if it was a simple arrow that he shot, it had its own powers, right?
Beautiful,
So
beautiful.
yeah, and and the other part that I wanted to also mention here is that even after this guy being so powerful, he's a Brahmarshi now. He says, if my bhakti to Rama is true, may he wake up. Even if he has achieved that level of oneness, that level of Brahmagyana, he still has that Sharanagati to Rama. And he says, he has completely lost his self image. He has become one. Yeah, like you rightly mentioned, it is Sa Yujya. Yujya means Yuj as a dhatu in Sanskrit means to merge. Okay, so to completely merge in the Paramatma is Sayujya. Okay, and that is what Bharata here signifies. While there is a beautiful thing in Sanskrit, we would see that, soham and dasoham just have da as a difference. Okay, you write soham and just add a da here in the beginning, it becomes dasoham. These are the two devotees that you see here. Hanuman is sakshat dasoham. So he is the dasa of Ramachandra, while Bharata, in these 14 years, he has gained that sada soham aspect. He has gone to soham aspect, right? So that is the difference here. And both are stepping stones finally to reach the Paramatma, the Kaivalya Tattva that we saw. If you have to rewind and go back to our Ramagita series, during those days we have discussed Kaivalyam in a good amount of detail. And both of these are actually
Jagdish,
stepping stones for that.
Jagdish, as you're saying, I'm can't force and join in that when Hanuman meets Bharat,
Mm.
there is a description that for a moment Hanuman pauses because he looks at him and he realizes Ram. So he's so resembling Ram that he feels like, how come Ram is here? And then
Yes.
he kind of recalibrates that, okay, it is not Ram, but Bharat who is looking like Ram. So Bharat had already reached a kind of a sarupyam in
Sarupyam.
which even Bharat, Hanuman also gets for a moment that,
Mm.
am I seeing Ram? And that is where Bhagwan writes it very beautifully that before, when he finishes that and Bharat says, I have already delayed you enough, please leave. Hanuman falls at the feet of Bharat.
Mm.
So it is a very beautiful gesture that look at Hanuman. Hanumanji is not a small character.
Yeah.
And with comparison to Bharat also, there's nothing high or low here.
Right.
But I feel maybe this learning from Bharat that what one has to achieve is a lesson which makes Hanumanji fall at the feet of Bharat also
Yeah.
and to
Yes.
take his permission, right? So it's a
Totally.
very interesting aspect that we are looking at. One is of Sannidhi, Sayujyam, and Sarupyam,
Mm.
and another is that humility of Bharat, which says that in spite of everything, he says he has to acknowledge me as anything else. So we have
Yes.
reached that. So that is a very beautiful thing. Brother Anil, are you there?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah. Yeah.
add
Yeah.
something, yeah,
I know.
please.
Yeah. I think I'm reminded of what Swami used to always say, and he used to put it in very simple terms. He used to say near and dear. You remember?
Yes.
Very often he used to tell boys, it is not important to be near, sir. It's important to be dear, Swami used to say. So these were the words Swami used to always put it as very simple, but then the depth of the meaning is now what you can see. Bharata was more dear to to Lord Rama. It's not that Hanuman wasn't dear, but Hanuman was more of a near than dear in that perspective. So that's one thought which, as this discussion is going on, I realized I just got reminded of Swami's that statement. It's not important to be near, sir. It is important to be dear, Swami used to say. So that near and dear, finally we have to become near and dear, Swami used to say. So we have to have that Sannidhi, also have that Sayujyam. That
Right.
feeling, that state where is the state which is full of happiness. That's one thought. The second thing is, no, Lord is always, when he takes what the discussion right from the beginning, Lord's avatar is to uh, give that salvation to every individual, every jiva. So he is not bothered about whether the war is going on or something else is going on or something, because for Lord, nothing is uncontrollable. Everything is under his control. So every opportunity he gets, he likes to uh, use the opportunity for the upliftment of his devotees. And so, in spite of the war going on, in the midst of the war, he didn't mind Hanuman. He wanted Hanuman to learn few more things from Bharata, and he wanted Bharata to learn how service should be from Hanuman. He didn't miss the opportunity of ensuring that his two devotees tend to grow further in their spiritual progress. So for Swami, no, this we saw even near Bhagwan. For Swami, it was not important. In fact, this I think we recalled in some other discussion also. Swami is to go to some place or visit some place. It was not because Swami in one of the Trai talks, Swami said, I don't go because I want to go and see the place or I want to be received by so and so. One devotee calls me, I go there. It is only a response to a call of a devotee. And Swami mentioned once that Swami went to Kenya. Not He was not worried that he was crossing the sea, he was going for the first time abroad. All those things weren't there in Swami's thought process. So Dr. Patel called Swami. It was from his heart that Swami said he called me from his heart, and I went. That's all it was for Bhagwan. So for the Lord, no, for one Prahalada, Swami, Lord Nrsimha came down. He didn't care. He didn't come for Hiranyakashipa, right? He came for Prahalada. So that's the connect. Actually, that is the depth of love, that the response that Swami gives to a call of love. And all of the Puranas, everything, every Leela of the divine only conveys that. And he is so concerned with the growth of every devotee of his who surrenders to him. So he takes every opportunity to ensure that the devotee continues to learn, continues to grow. So this episode of this discussion between Bharata and Hanuman, Lord Hanuman, is a beautiful example of how much is the depth of Lord Rama's love towards both his devotees. For him, both are close to him,
Yeah.
right?
I
So
wanted
that's
to
the
add,
point of it.
sure.
And then
I
one
want
more analogy here we can see. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Sure, sure. No, I just wanted to add here one thing because people are wondering, like, was Hanuman not having Sayujya and Sayuja together, Samipyam and Sayujyam? The point that we had already discussed was that Hanumanji's life is a journey of a sadhaka, which Lord Hanuman
Yeah,
has lived perfectly. So he has
yeah,
shown us that how a sadhaka should prepare himself to meet the Lord, and once you meet the Lord, then how to serve him and how to remain in his thing and then merge with him. So his journey is very
correct.
beautiful, and in that
And
journey,
that
this
also is
area
actually,
where we have,
yeah, correct. Go ahead. That
so
also is
that's what I wanted
actually
to
a,
add. Yeah, go on, go on.
that also is actually an act of love from, because Lord Hanuman also is the avatar of Rudra, Shiva, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
even there, to show us a certain example for all of us of how a devotee's journey has to be, Lord Hanuman enacted the full journey.
Correct.
He went through the journey so that we understand.
Yeah, so when we are saying that Lord Hanuman, Bharat is showing you Sayujyam and Hanumanji is only showing Sannidhi, it doesn't mean that Hanumanji is anything
Yeah,
less or thing, but it is only that stage which Hanuman is trying to convey to us so that we can learn the difference. That is the
yeah,
beauty of this Mayan, that each time, each player, even though capable, they are playing their part to the best. Uh,
yes.
Okay, Brother Anil, I would like to throw another, thought here with you all, and we had, separately discussed also. Here we see two things, about sadhana. When we saw Hanumanji preparing himself for almost 25 years, or say 34 years, I would say, before he met Ram in physical form. So there is a kind of a preparation in which you are serving the Lord by your own penance and doing it. So the difference between, like Bharat, when he's given this allocation of duty to run the country, he's doing that, but he's focused also with something with his personal thing. So looking at these two characters, and can I have your thoughts on how do we look at, and so that it's a learning curve for all of the devotees of doing seva in the name of Lord or serving the Lord in different way, and then serving the Lord by doing your personal journey, personal seva or sadhana, whatever we want to call it. So your thought on that, how do we approach and how do we learn from these two beautiful characters?
Yeah.
Yes, Jagdish,
I
you can
think,
start off. Yeah, or take
Jagdish,
it
you can
over.
start. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as soon as you said that, Bhaiya, I was reminded of this warning, I must say, that Swami has given, that if you divide your work as Swami's work and not Swami's work, you will never get moksham, is what Swami told, right? So, in fact, what one does is the whole of it is Swami's work. Whether, I mean, something that is called personal is probably not totally personal, because it is required to keep that upadhi like that, and for that upadhi to probably do its own karmakshaya and develop in its own spiritual journey. So therefore, it is not, I mean, all of the things that you do for yourself are not um, selfishness. Okay, if I have to put it like that, right?
Swami used to put this as, yeah, it's very, very right thought. Swami used to put it as Sarva Karma Bhagavat Prityartham.
Hmm.
That is the actual way to lead life. This is where no Adi Shankaracharya in his Manasa Puja towards the end, no, Atmatvam Geja Matistahachara Prana Shariram Gruham Puja Te Vishayopabhoga Rachana Nidras Samadhisthiti Sanchara Padayo Pradakshina Vidhi Stotrani Sarvagiro Yadyat Karma Karomi Tathadakilam Shambho Tava Aradhanam. Yadyat Karma Karomi Tathadakilam Sai Tava Aradhanam. Right? So every act no has to become an act of worship.
Yes.
Every act has to become an act of worship. This is where Swami, in fact, gave one very good practical uh, tip in one of his discourses. Swami said, before you start a work, you think of me and offer it to me and then do the work. That's the tip. I think it's a practical tip for all of us. Before we start any activity, we have to, like we started off with this prayer. We, brother, you started with the prayer, right? Oh Lord, take my love, right? So we start the activity. Specifically, what we do, we tend to do like what Jagdish brother was saying, no? We tend to invariably think of Swami when it is something related to godly activity. And then start pray and say, we are doing it as an offering to you, Swami. But we tend to forget him when we are doing these worldly activities, so-called worldly activities. And that is where we are missing out on the actual way to liberation, right?
Yes.
What Bharata did was that
No, no, I think,
everything was,
yeah.
yeah,
No, actually, I think my question went off a little bit. I'll give you a story just to put it in the context. You know, there is a story in Shiv Puran, and
Hmm.
according to Shiv Puran, Mother Parvati, who is a consort of Lord Shiva, she is totally with Bhagwan. She does everything together, and then when she settles them down, you know, like doing her homely duty, so to say, by taking care of the children and husband and all that, and ganas together, then it seems she goes off and does her puja, and she had made a huge shivlingam where she does her regular penance. So Nandi questions her one day that, Mother, why do you do separate puja when you have the Lord Himself with you and you are yourself Shakti? So, and that is where the beauty of Shiv Puranic description is, that Mother says, it is because of this that I am that. So I can't leave this. So imagine when the
yeah,
separation
yeah,
is there and Shiv Parvati. So the worship of Shivling is so critical for Mother Parvati to remain Parvati and to remain her Ardhangini status. So that is where I meant when I said that even Mother Parvati was doing her personal sadhana, in, if I may use the terminology of that nature, and then she
yeah,
was of course serving the Lord even in the physical presence. And that
correct.
context I'm trying to understand here in these two devotees.
Yeah, yeah. I think two aspects come to my mind in this regard. One is what Swami has told in Dhyana Vahini. Dhyanam. In fact, once I remember this was in my PhD time. Swami called all the students who were staying in Mandir and in the Bhajan hall. And Swami said, all of you from tomorrow, you have to get up by 4, do Dhyanam, then do Suprabhatam. Suprabhatam should be preceded by Dhyanam every day. And then he called Radhakrishna sir from inside and said, Radhakrishna sir, you take attendance.
Really?
They should do Dhyanam every day. Okay. This went on for few months. He used to come and see who all are sitting and doing Dhyanam, and then go, we all will be half asleep in the Dhyanam. Our Dhyanams used to be like that, of course. But then, no, that Swami insisted, and in Dhyanavani, Swami has clearly written that by Dhyanam, one can get out of karma and get Atma Sakshatkaram in this very life.
Yes.
That is possible, and that means what? That internal connect, no, has to be strong, has to be very, very, very strong, and that's the reason why Swami says, "Love all, serve all." Service has come after love. The deep love of seeing the Lord in everyone and loving that Lord before we serve that person, no, is very, very critical component we need to understand, and that is what actually links us up with the Lord. Another analogy, not analogy, another incident that comes to my mind. This was in my 12th standard. There were a number of seniors who had left the hostel and gone. So we were little small, being small kids. Swami had called for interview. Swami said, "Aim Samacharam." Then we said, "Swami, why is it that some of the seniors are leaving and going?" Because that was going on in our minds then. Because Swami, no one would like to leave Swami and go, right? Then why is it that people are leaving and going? We were so surprised. Then Swami said, it is like ice cube. Your karma is like a ice block. It will keep melting and going away. If you don't do it, it will keep melting and slowly all your good karma will melt out. And then you can't stay with me. So what should you do? You should keep this ice in refrigerator or in a vessel which will not allow it to melt. That is what is sadhana, Swami said. You continue to do sadhana to be with me. If you don't do sadhana, you cannot be with me. Swami, this was an interview room. I remember this statement Bhagavan made. You continue to do sadhana, then you will be with me. So Mother Parvati is doing that sadhana in a sense, means we can't say this for Mother Parvati, but then if you can take that analogy of what Swami said, it is that it's sadhana alone, that continuous inner connect alone, which will help us in staying connected. Samipyam of Lord is possible through only that internal sadhana. Without that sadhana, Samipyam cannot be continuously had, because Samipyam is actually consuming lot of our punya. And that punya to be continuously replenished, the only way is through sadhana. So that is why sadhana is so very important, so very critical, rather than just doing mechanically service. So service preceded or underlined by sadhana is what is actually we need to learn from Bharata and Hanuman.
One point comes to mind, just to add to what you just said, sir. Mother Parvati is in fact I think she's the epitome of tapas. You look at any
Yes.
in Shiva Mahapurana also, we hear thousands of years of tapas normally in other Puranas, but in the case of Mother Parvati, it is crores.
Lifelong.
Oh my God, her tapas and the amount, Paramatma tests her is another level. He keeps deluding her, saying, what you want this Shiva who is, who is full of, snakes all the time. He wears all this vibhuti. He doesn't he doesn't have bath, these kind of things. He tries to delude her so many times. He sends the Saptarishis to delude her. Okay. And then she says, and finally he comes, and in another he comes in the garb of a Brahmin and says, these same things. In fact, why do you want Shiva? Leave him. Okay, he says, now that you have said it, as a Brahmin you came, I have heard this and I am so fed up that I am giving up this life, she says. And she tries to go into fire, and then he comes. He says, no, 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 it was a test, and now I give you your boon. You ask what you want. And this takes crores of years, and all this for Shiva getting the name of Bhola Bhandari and all. Okay. Crores of
And actually, one more thing I'd like to add here. Brother Jagdish, this reminds me of one more very important thing of Mother Parvati's life. No, it is not that that test got over there. From Mother Parvati, this test continues. You see the story of Kanchipuram.
yes.
Again, Mother Parvati is tested. You know that. So it's not once. Any number of times Mother Parvati is tested, and Mother Parvati has done penance to get back Shiva. This is continuously has been shown, maybe even though it's happening and will continue to happen. I think like Jagdish brother said, all this is for Bola Shankar. So that is the kind of continuous. I think that is to convey that continuous sadhana is absolute essential to be with that kind of pure divine being. See, that purity which is Swami, is so pure that to be with the purity.
There is another thought which comes to me when I am listening to all of you, is that, as they say, in this yuga, Nam Smaran is the greatest penance one can do.
Yeah.
And there's a saint, Swami Premananda, I'm just listening to him nowadays. He says you can do any other penance. You can do charity, you can do bhajan singing, you can do all of that. And the mind will allow you to an extent. If you have good prapti, you will be able to do all of that.
Yes.
But once you come to Namaswaran in today's time, it'll keep switching you off from Namaswaran. It is that simple and yet that powerful. And that is why you get the highest disturbance while you do Namaswaran. So chanting of God's name, as Bhagwan would say, that while you're cooking, cleaning, driving, you must keep chanting. So he has given us a tool, but I notice that whenever I start chanting, I switch off. When I switch off to bhajans, I don't even realize. But then he tells that if you mind will allow you to go for bhajan and all that, but a Naam chanting is so powerful, it will not. And the reason he gives is that Naam, the chanting of the name of the Lord, actually hits upon the core foundation of your vasanas. So Naam is the powerful, so powerful that it destroys the vasanas. It actually cleans you. So obviously mind will not allow you to happen. So it keeps shifting you from Namaswaran and says, do whatever else. So all the activities that we are doing, that is only to prepare our mind to do Naam chanting.
Yes. Yes.
So that is the power of Namasmaran.
Yes.
So when I look at these two characters also, I realize that Hanuman was a pinnacle of Namasmaran.
Yes.
That his every roam had Ram Ram going on.
Yes.
Correct? The roam is in Sanskrit is the hair strands. So in fact, Bhagwan said that the scene of Hanuman tearing his chest open is false. It's like a film direction. Nobody cuts his body, and what will you find? Only find bones and blood there.
Yes.
So he did not cut his chest. What he did was he plucked his hair and gave it to every courtesan there. So every member of the court got a hair strand of Hanuman, and they could hear Ram being chanted by each hair strand. So you can imagine like what we are talking in today, when at this point of time, Hanuman was getting prepared for that. Then imagine his chanting, like we saw how he reprimanded a monkey who was chanting Ram's name while taking his morning ablutions,
Hmm.
and then he got reprimanded by Ram that, hey, what do you mean? And then he realized, oh my God, Ram Nam can be chanted anytime, anywhere, in any condition. So he
Yes.
dropped that baggage. Then Hanumanji grew into this stage. Now, when he looks at Bharat, that by remembering Ram, by chanting his name, Bharat has become Ram,
Hmm.
Sayudyam. So I think there's a next learning of Hanuman in that journey of, of what you call sadhaka, that you have to chant so much that you transform yourself into it. And ultimately, Hanumanji did become that. So by the time the war was over, actually Hanuman was becoming Rammai. That his hair strand started singing Ram.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is where when Sita gave him the garland, he made a drama of where is Ram name. So
Yeah.
imagine that Sayudyam, the journey of Sayudyam is so amazing.
Yes.
So Anil brother, your voice got cut. So you want to continue what you're saying? I think he's still off. So
Hmm.
Jagdish, you can add something? Or should we?
Yes, Priya. So yeah, we could move ahead, but I think we should also cover how Hanumanji goes to bring the Sanjeevani during that the Sushena part. I think we did not cover that story. I think
No,
we
we have
have done.
done that.
We
We are
have done
done.
that. Okay. Okay.
So we'll come back. So right now I wanted to mention about Sumitra. So
Ah.
when Hanumanji takes off from Lanka, sorry, for Lanka, Bharat now rushes to mothers to inform them about this whole episode. And that is where another we get another beautiful persona or character whom we should learn about is Mother Sumitra. Mother Sumitra is also another I would say a character who is not been enough glorified, if I may say it that way. She represents a perfect selfless being
Totally.
who has accepted her life in that manner, who is pure, selfless, and a complete divine being. When this news comes to Sumitra that Lakshman is, gone into a coma kind of a state, obviously Bhagwan writes that she gets a shock and kinds of faints for for a few moments, but she recovers very soon and tells everybody that there is nothing to worry as my son is in the service of Ram.
Hmm.
Let me read it. She says, the son born of my loins is offering his very life in the service of Ram, and that is enough consolation for me. It gives me great sense of satisfaction, and
Hmm.
my life has attained fulfillment. Look at that. And then she makes a very beautiful statement which explains, actually highlights what a great persona she was. She says, my only concern right now is that Ram must be worried because of this situation.
Hmm.
She's not worried that her son is almost on a deathbed. She
Yes.
is worried that Ram must be worried because Lakshman is in that state of affair.
Yes.
And she says, this separation may bother and give him grief.
Hmm.
She says, not to worry, I have a solution. And Sumitra says, I have Shatrughan here. The next son, Shatrughan is here, and he should go immediately and be at the side of the brother
Ram.
and serve. Shatrughan, listening to it, gets very happy actually. He is actually very excited and he said, yes, I'm ready to leave. And Sumitra said, you should leave immediately and be on the side of Ram and do whatever he asks you. But look at Bharat, another character who immediately says, no, I don't think that's a good idea. So people say, why? And he says, I don't think Ram would approve of this. I'm so like amazed at these personalities that Bharat can't even think on his. He thinks exactly like Ram. He has not only physically got transformed, but his being has become Ram. So he says, I don't think Ram would approve that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that confidence that to know this is exactly how Ram would behave, has become part of his persona, that he says, no, you can't go. It is not approved by Ram. And obviously, Shatrughan then does not leave,
Yes.
because he can't leave anyways without the permission of his elder brother. But Jagdish, just to, fascinates me is Mother Sumitra's response and then the counter by Bharat.
Yeah.
Which mother would be so generous and giving in that nature, right?
Yes.
What do you think about this? I would say she's a fascinating character to me.
Totally amazing. So, in fact, on many an occasion, I have also heard Swami when he used to mention Sumitra in his discourses, he would certainly tear up, and you would hear that gadgad swar in Swami's voice. That as soon as he says Sumitra, he would be filled with emotion. When he talks about Sumitra, and why not? Because again, to understand this mother's tyaga bhavam, we have to look at other mothers. So, for example, leave alone Kaikeyi, she did what she did. But if you look at the discussion between Mother Kausalya and Rama in Valmiki Ramayanam, when Rama goes to Mother Kausalya and says, first he says that, Mother, father has appointed me as the crown prince. She's very happy. She blesses him with many things. And then second time he goes the next day, and he mentions that this is the and he mentions, by the way, with the same equanimity that he said that he has put me, he has appointed me as the crown prince, right? Rama says that, and he says, okay, father has now asked me to go to the forest, and Bharata will now become the crown prince. Mother Kausalya, immediately she faints, and she can't believe what she's hearing. She was actually preparing for Rama's coronation, with so much expectation, right? Like any mother would have of her son. Which mother would not like when her son is doing well, right? So um, so like that, she basically responds to this after she wakes up from her pain, from her faint, from her swoon, right? uh, she tells a lot of things. In fact, she says, no, how is this even possible? How can Dasharatha give this woe to Kaikeyi? And Rama says, no, it is what it is. He has said it, and I need to go. Then she says, no, I will also come with you. she, and there is a whole discussion where she's in a shok sagar jo, with what they mentioned, right? She's in a ocean of sorrow, in fact. And in the end, Rama convinces her, and then she does a beautiful, by the way, this is a aside I would like to mention. There is this sarga in Ayodhya Kanda, where it starts with yan mangalam sahasraksha, sahasraksha, etc. So where she says that the mangala that Aditi did to Sahasraksha is Indra. Okay. Aditi is the mother of Indra, right? So whatever mangalam she did to Indra, may that mangalam come to you, may that auspiciousness come to you. So those kind of blessings she does. Okay, so there is a whole sarga. It's very beautiful. One should certainly read it. um, After that, all this discussion happens for about 3-4 chapters. He uses to describe this conversation between Mother Kausalya and Rama. On the other hand, when Lakshmana goes and tells Mother Sumitra that this is the situation, and I am leaving to the forest with Rama, there is no sorrow. There is no sorrow at all. She just says, Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi, Mam Vidhi Janakatmajam, Ayodhyam Atabim Vidhi, Gachatata Yathasukham. Which means,
Beautiful.
it means, Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi. No Rama, yeah, as Dasharatha. The same bhakti that you have towards your father, Dasharatha, show that towards Rama. No Rama as your father. Mam Vidhi Janakatmajam. Janakatmaja, Mother Janaki, know her as me. Look at
Right.
her as your own mother. Hmm? Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi. So the forest that you will live in, know that to be Ayodhya. Okay, take it to be Ayodhya and go there peacefully, serve your brother, and come back after 14 years. This is what she says. That is Mother Sumitra and her selflessness in a in a in a in a nutshell, right? So while I would also like to mention one more thing, I think this one shlokam, right, is basically enough for anybody to understand what Mother Sumitra's selflessness is. And on the other hand, this beautiful thing that you mentioned about Bharata, right, where he says to Shatrughna that Rama might not approve of this. It happens multiple times. Okay, there is a situation actually when both Shatrughna and Bharata have returned from the Kekai Rajyam where they were during mm, during the time that all this Rama's going to the forest, his father dying, etc. Dasharatha's passing away. All this happens during those times. Bharata and Shatrughna are not there; they are in Kekai Rajyam. They come back and they see the whole situation, and Shatrughna comes to know that it is because of the ill advice of this mantra that the whole thing happened. He goes to punish her. In fact, he raises his hand to even kill her. Okay, Bharata stops him and says, no, don't do this. Rama will certainly not approve. Okay, if you do this, Rama will not forgive us for life. We can forget Rama. We have to live separately from him. So don't even do this. Okay, so that is the continue. I mean, I personally feel a beautiful connect to that scene that happens in Valmiki Ramayana, because it signifies for us that continuous longing, that just like we said some time ago, sarva karma bhagavat preetyartham. Okay, it is, all actions that we do are to please Swami. So that should be the objective of it takes me back to our student days and the way that we used to pine for Swami and do various activities like that, right? I think it's a beautiful parallel that I draw.
I'm, yeah, I'm reminded when Swami used to say that, there is a statement, following the footprints of Lord, or you are a follower of Bhagwan. So he had asked one this question, who is a follower? And obviously, people said few statements and few definitions. And he says, what does it mean to follow the footprints of the master? So people said that, Swami, following your footprints means what? So somebody obeying you. So what does obeying mean? What is the height of it? So while this discussion goes on, Bhagwan himself, obviously when we pause, we have nothing else to say. He came up and said, when you can think like Sai, act like Sai, speak like Sai, that is following Sai. So following God, when we say following God, is not just following in terms of, what he says, you do it, or you try to do and you slip on whatever. He says the following Sai is when you can think like Sai, act like Sai, speak like Sai. And I feel that is the stage Bharat had reached. And what we are listening, all of this, is making me realize that, level when these both devotees, showing to sadhakas how the journey has to progress and truly becoming, agents of Lord, or becoming servant or follower of God, is this format. When we can think like Sai, when we can say that, will Bhagwan approve of it? Will Bhagwan do that? Not approve of it. Approve it again, I think becomes my action is mine. It is basically saying that, will Swami do it? Will Baba do it? Will Baba think like that? So imagine Bharat having that level of oneness in the thought.
Yeah.
Excellent. So now the story, let's push it story back to Lanka now. When Hanumanji reaches there, And just to make it a story in that way, that obviously some people suggest that uh, Hanuman brings a mountain, and then Sushena goes and brings this Sanjeevani booties. There are three or four. Do you know the names, Jagdish? That you were telling me that names.
So it is Sanjeeva Karani, Vishalya Karani, Sandhana Karani, and there is a fourth one, which is I
Yeah,
need
he
to check
brings those.
after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he brings those four. I think. Yeah, it is mentioned. Samdhanakarani,
Sandhana,
Savarnakarni,
Sauvarna Karani.
Sandhanakarni, Savarnakarni,
Yes.
Samjeevakarni, and these are the ones which are got
Vishalya
administered to
Karani
the,
is the fourth.
yeah, Vaishalyakarni.
Vishalya
So these are
Karani.
four which herbs which gets, he creates a concoction based on that and is administered to Lakshman and who wakes up. But interesting part here, one more thing I want to share with listeners is there is a character of avatars and the God realized souls, and which our scriptures themselves have highlighted this character. And the
Hmm.
character is all these people who are self-realized or avataric descents, they play their human roles to the perfection.
Hmm.
And that perfection is to such an extent that it becomes kind of a deception for people to imagine that how can Ram cry? Can you imagine we worship Ram as God and God is running around the trees and asking any leaf, have you seen my Sita? It sounds very abstract, but that is one of the major indicators that they say one of the pure qualities of avatar is that they would play the role to the T. So when this scene is happening, and Hanumanji obviously got delayed because of this Bharat episode, and night had already half the night is also passing by.
Hmm.
There, the scene is explained very beautifully that how Ram is keep that Lakshman's head is on Ram's lap. They are on the ground, and Ram is lamenting. He's crying. He's weeping. He starts off narrating Lakshman's character,
Yes.
Lakshman's attributes. He starts praising his brother as if, like a mortal who's crying, looking at his fate of his relative, and he's like lamenting. That is the state of Ram. And it's such a like sight to watch that anybody would melt, anybody's heart would melt and start crying. And it is very natural at that time to feel that, hey, Avatar, how could you cry like that? We have a tendency of philosophizing Bhagavad Gita right there. Everything is temporary. So one Ram who was master of it, who had given Rama Gita, who had always depicted Udasinta all his life, how could he cry? How could he weep? How could he lament in that manner when his brother was on the ground? Isn't that a very beautiful, a sweet contrast of life?
Totally,
Then in
totally.
one hand he shows his detachment, one hand he shows everything, and then he starts crying down. Oh my Bharat, oh Lakshmana, what happened to you? What will And then he goes on to tell, what will I report to Sumitra, Mother Sumitra? She has handed over to me, and now I could not keep you. So imagine all that is going on, and everybody is watching Ram. Isn't that beautiful?
Totally, totally. Yeah.
But one thing I found even in Ramayana, I'm sure you read Ramayana much detail and better. Have you ever read any line, wherein people, spectators watching Bhagwan Ram, have expressed their conscious doubt, like what Ram is doing? I have not come across that line at all, but I'm not sure. I'm sure there must be people who are wondering, like, why Ram is crying like that.
In fact, I would say that he played his human part to such a perfection that everybody took him to be human. Nobody got this doubt that, oh, why is this avatar crying? No, no, they took him to be a human, and
That's
that,
fantastic. I think that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, I never thought like that.
yeah.
Wow. So imagine that is a state when you're landing there, and that is a scene. And then they explain that just by the whiff of Sanjeevani, many
Yeah.
monkeys, Vanaras got up and they got cured. And obviously, Sushena performs this, and then Ram says to Hanuman, drop them back in their place the house back in their original spot, and leave the mountain next to Sushena
Hmm.
house as an gratitude to Sushena so that he can help others.
Yes.
There is also one of the context in which I think last time we discussed about the duty of a doctor. I
Hmm.
think you only mentioned that, that people said, Ram, how could you trust Sushena, who is a
Hmm.
enemy's doctor?
Yeah.
And Ram said, no, doctor is a doctor. And Sushena himself posed this question that, Ram, how could you trust me? And Ram said, I know you are a doctor and good one. So you will follow your dharma. So, it's a very beautiful thing that how everything is getting there. But one important point to note here is that when Sushena is leaving back, Ram gives him abhay.
Hmm.
He gives him fearlessness, a blessing, and he says, "Your protection is my duty." So that is where you can see that when a human cry and then the divine assurance.
Yeah.
No human can give an assurance to somebody who has become enemy of Ravan in Lanka itself. So
Yes.
there's a very beautiful, I would say, contrast which keeps appearing here.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
lamentation of Rama, I just want to take one step back and highlight probably. I think it is more of highlighting the character that Lakshmana is, and the character that Sumitra is. That's more the reason why Rama chooses to lament. Because you know what Rama says when he's lamenting, he says, "I can find greater treasures than those that are there in Ayodhya as the king of the whole world. I can find better treasures elsewhere. I can find a better person than Mother Sita. Okay, but I cannot find a better brother than Lakshman." He says. Okay, so that is the level of importance that he gives to Lakshmana. He says, in fact, even when the avatar goes back to its pristine form, when Rama's avatar is going to end, even after Mother Sita goes back to the Bhumata, he's there. But after Lakshmana goes, he doesn't stay 1 second. Goes. Okay, that is the bond. In fact, I would also like to highlight here that the bond between brothers is very beautiful. So I think it is also to highlight that kind of a, the spirituality aspect is certainly there, but the social aspect is also there. And it is also to highlight the way two brothers should love each other and they should live together. That is what Rama is showcasing here. And in fact, he goes to the extent of saying, Lakshmana, if you're not there, what will I do with this whole kingdom? Even if I get this kingdom, it's of no use. And even true to that, when he gets coronated in the end, he says, Lakshmana, I am becoming king for you. Now you have given me 14 years of your life of complete servitude. You enjoy all the all the comforts that this kingship brings. Okay, it is for you that I am becoming king, he says. So that is the level of importance, or that is the level of love that he shows for Lakshmana here. In fact, no other character in the whole of Ramayana enjoys that kind of love, nor Mother Sita, not Hanuman, nobody, not even Bharata, Lakshmana.
But in Anand Ramayan,
Hmm.
I think the similar approach is mentioned, but I've not read the statement from Ram, but approach is same. But Lakshman refuses to take kingdom.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
He
Even
he
in
always sticks
Ramayana.
he always sticks to Ram.
Yes,
He sends his sons. Their sons get kingdoms.
yes,
He sends them XYZ go.
correct.
Only at the command of Ram, Lakshman would go to fight or whatever and come back. So
That's true.
Lakshman has all his life not taken any additional, Even when after returning, Ram says, Lakshman, go spend some time with your wife.
Yes.
So it is only Ram has to push him, and he says, now go and spend some time. Poor lady has been waiting for you 14 years.
Yes.
So, and when Ram is with Sita mother, then Lakshman goes to meet Urmila. So it
Yes.
is that kind of a detached life which Lakshman has shown, that
Yes.
even though Ram says that I'm here now, go and relax, but for Lakshman, relaxation is only with Ram.
Even in the
So,
Valmiki Ramayana, he mentions that even before, when he is coronated, before Bharata becomes the second in line, right? He tells Lakshmana that you become Yuvraj. You should become Yuvraj. When I become king, you will become Yuvraj. I want to give you that. He says, no, you please give it to Bharata. I am good in your service. I'll do whatever kainkaryam that you give me. That's it. Okay. In fact, Valmiki Ramayana, I think no other better description of him, because Valmiki says he is Ramasya Prana Bahischaraha. So, if your life
ah,
force is working outside, is walking outside, how would it look? Like that, it seems. Lakshmana is Rama's own prana. That's walking outside. That's the kind of
say,
description that
say it in Sanskrit once more.
Ramasya Pranaha Bahischaraha.
Ramasya pranaha bahischara. Just to
Ah,
help other listeners, Ramasya prana means Rama's life breath,
life
which
force.
is outside.
Yes.
So Lakshman is like a life breath of Ram, which is outside Ram's body.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful description, right? Okay, lovely. Okay, taking it forward, then the story comes as obviously the fight is going on, and then next day they say Dhumrakshaka comes, who is killed by Hanuman. Akampa comes, who is killed by
Kampana.
Angada. Praharsta next comes, who is killed by Nila. Mahodra is killed by Hanuman the next day. And for then comes Kumbh and Nikumbh, the sons of Kumbhakarna, and they fight for almost 5 days, it seems. And
Yes.
ultimately, they were killed on the sixth day. Makaraksha killed by Lakshmana next. So like that, they are killed, and then ultimately Ravan goes and wakes up Kumbhakarna. Now we have also noticed that Kumbhakarna wakes up on his normal course of action just after Hanuman leaves Lanka.
Hmm.
So when Lanka has been burnt by Hanuman, and that is where we find mention of Kumbhakarna, who wakes up and comes, and that time, by the time Ravan had already fixed the Lanka back. So
Yes.
when Kumbhakarna hears about the pranks of a monkey or a Vanara, he comes
Destruction.
and kind of scolds Ravan that what is wrong with you? How could you allow such things? And he goes back to sleep again. Obviously, his one day is over. But now, because of these issues, Kumbhakarna is woken up unduly. And that is where I want to remind about the curse which Kumbhakarna had got with the boon. Because when he penance was done, he had he wanted to ask Indrasan. Indrasan means the throne of Indra, the
Hmm.
king of Devatas. In his tongue, they say Mother Saraswati sat and he twisted the tongue and he said,
Nidras.
Nidras, Nidrasan. Nidra means sleep. So he says, now I want the seat of sleep so that he could sleep. And Brahma, without wasting time, he said, Tathastu, so be it. And the Kumbhakarna was to sleep. And then Ravan and others begged that Prabhu, he's made a mistake. Please, what is the point of him living if he has to only sleep all his life?
Hmm.
Then Brahma compensated that and he said, okay, he'll wake up once in 6 months, and that time you can do whatever, and then again go to sleep. And if anybody wakes him up during that 6 months sleep, that may result in the death of Kumbhakarna. It can be fatal for Kumbhakarna. So
Yeah.
don't disturb him for the 6 months. And that is how Kumbhakarna is continuing to live his life. But
Yes.
now the situation came when Ravan had lost all his major journals, or you can say warriors,
Hmm.
and he had no other way but to wake up Kumbhakarna because he knew Brother Kumbhakarna alone was sufficient to destroy anybody. Kumbhakarna was known to be very powerful. He was giant, actually, very big, and he was ferocious by nature. He was actually he's described in many ways, but I don't know how he got a little bit of pure feelings. But he is described as a very cruel in his nature. So people were very scared. In fact, he was supposed to be, as they describe him, more horrible and more dangerous than Ravan himself.
Totally.
He was scholarly, he was ferocious, and he was more powerful than Ravan. So you can imagine the caliber of Kumbhakarna. And that is why Devtas, I presume, were more concerned about what he would ask by
Yes.
Brahma. Because if he would have taken a boon, obviously then there was no limit for Kumbhakarna's stage. But the beauty of this is that when Kumbhakarna arrives to fight, in fact, before going, when he listens to the whole story after waking up, he also reprimands Ravan. And I find, Jagdish, that part I find little intriguing because the whole description of Kumbhakarna is negative.
Yes.
But here is a spot when I find that how could he immediately switch and realize that brother is wrong. And he reprimands him. And in
Yes.
fact suggests him that you should just return Sita and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when Ravan, doesn't deviate and he keeps forcing him, then ultimately he says, "I'm your brother. I'll never forsake you.
Yes.
I will fight for you." But that is what my heart says, and I'm telling you. So
Hmm.
don't you find it little contrasting? Like, how could a Ravan who is, sorry, Kumbhakaran who is uh, saying in a way more worse than Ravan
Hmm.
could get it that who Ram is
Totally.
immediately after listening to Ravan? And then he goes to fight also. He says, "Okay, I'll fight for you. But I know that you are wrong." How do you look at how do you look at Kumbhakaran now in that context?
Yeah. So I wouldn't totally say that, he knew who Ram is. Okay. But but still, he says these things. What he says is that Mother Sita is a Pativrata, and he also knows the chinks in Ravana's armor. Okay. He says that when you did your penance and you did not ask for protection from manavas and vanaras. Okay. So now Rama is here. He is a manava, and there are all these vanaras. We already saw what the vanaras did. So that was a bad decision from you, is what he says. Okay. And but so I mean, if somebody has to be good, he has to be completely good, like Vibhishana. But as soon as as Ravana tells him that, um, see, I mean, you are my brother. What is this that you are doing? You don't tell me what is good and bad. I am the elder one. I will tell you. I am the king here. That's what he says. And then he also says, at this juncture of need that I have, will you desert me? That's the kind of thing he asks. Ravana asks him, and then he immediately says, "No, no, I am Kumbhakarna." Then his ferocious side is awakened, in spite of having all this jnanam that Mother Sita is sakshat fire, and Rama, is the greatest of all warriors that we have today. In spite of knowing that, he immediately, his instincts kick in, his animal instincts, and then he immediately goes and says to Ravana that, "No, no, don't worry, I am going to the war, and now the war will end. Now this Kumbhakarna will enter war, and he'll finish off all the Vanaras and this Rama and Lakshmana." So he shows this uh, how do you call this line of brilliance in his thought, and immediately he is deluded. He says, "No, no, I am going to kill him." Okay, so I wouldn't agree. Probably, also somewhere it feels that Kumbhakarna was probably a little lazy. He says, "Why did you wake me up? Are you?" And due to that laziness, probably he said, that Ravana, "Why do you bring upon yourself all these unnecessary things? You already have a lot of women with you. Why do you want to again bring upon your head, these kind of troubles? And then you wake me up. out of my slumber.
No,
Probably
no,
that's the kind of feeling
no,
you
I
get.
won't. No, I won't agree there because I'll tell you next when
No,
he
that was
comes
a
to
joke.
yeah, but when you come to the next part, when he comes to the battlefield, obviously he's ferocious. He comes and he's giant. They say he's a giant man. So when he
Yes,
walks in, obviously people start running away,
yes.
and Vibhishan notices that brother has come. So Vibhishan is the first person who rushes to him, and he wants to meet him. And then he goes and falls at his feet. Vibhishan is the youngest brother, so he goes and touches his feet, and he says, "I'm happy to see you." And then he starts like kind of defending his decision to
Hmm.
Kumbhakarna. And he says, "Brother, I tried my level best to guide Ravan, but he's not. I couldn't help it." And there, Kumbhakarna's arguments are very beautiful. He said, "Vibhishan, I know you must have tried your best
Hmm.
because you are sattvic from our perspective, but it is destiny, and you have chosen well." And
Hmm.
that is where I get a very interesting feeling that Kumbhakarna says, "You have chosen right." And then he makes a statement which Bhagwan writes. He says, Vibhishan, you are actually Vibhushan. You are a Vibhushan of our Kul. So Vibhushan in Sanskrit is, ornamentation, ornament, ornament. You are like a beautiful ornament of our Kula. Vibhishan is the name, and Vibhushan, he just plays with the word and he says, "You're not just Vibhishan, you are Vibhushan." So that is the kind of attitude with Kumbhakarna says. And then Vibhishan says, "Brother, then why don't you also come to Ram?"
Hmm.
He says, "No, you have chosen destiny. My destiny is different. I will, I will not give up because anyways, enough. If he's God, then I'm anyways getting the best death possible.
Yes.
If he's not, then big deal. Who cares? So it's that kind of an attitude, and then Kumbhakarna fights. So what we have also heard from mythological perspective that Ravan, Kumbhakarna, are one of those, third life. This is the last life in the three series, which
No,
the
there is one
Dwalka
more.
also.
Shishupala Dantavaktra is also there in the
Oh,
in the
sorry.
top.
So you have first is your
Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha.
Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Okay,
Yes.
Ravan, Kumbhakarna, and then
Shishupala Dantavaktra.
Dantavatra and Shishupala. Okay, okay. So these are three lives. Okay. So then he says that, it's, I think that is why Ram had to fight him. Nobody else can fight him. So he says, "I have come here to challenge Ram." And I think there is also a very beautiful subtlety, if I may add here. If Kumbhakarna would have fought with others, then obviously there is no chance of anybody to survive.
Hmm.
So he comes directly to Ram and he challenges Ram. And in fact, Sugriv and others try to jump in and try to fight with him, and they get thrashed immediately. Only Ram had to come, and Lakshman stops Ram, intervenes, and he says, "Brother, I'll go and teach him a lesson." Ram says, "No. Look at the maryada of everybody." Ram says, "He has challenged me, so as a Kshatriya, I have to take the challenge. So only I will fight with him." So
Yes.
look at the whole. When I studied, I feel if Kumbhakarna would have fought with anybody, obviously nobody had a caliber to fight with him
Hmm.
from that perspective. And Ram, because of his, whether you call it a boon or a curse, he was destined to die with Ram
Hmm.
because he had to merge with Ram. So it is only Ram who had to kill him. And that also his death has been described in a very beautiful manner that he was so powerful that in the whole episode of description of fightings of Ram, I find Bhagwan describing Ram fighting Kumbhakarna and Ravan the most.
Hmm.
And for Kumbhakarna, he cuts his arms first, and then the body charges. Then he cuts his legs. Then he says even the bust starts to move. So imagine how powerful he must have been. Then ultimately his head is cut. Then he stops. It's something strange. It is like the way Kumbhakarna has fallen is not a just one shot and he's gone.
Yes.
He had to be literally, literally cut into pieces for him to stop. And so that is the kind of caliber we are looking at. What you add your flavor here, brother.
Yeah. So in fact, he when he dies, also, he makes the most of it, because he has a huge farm, and then he falls on the Vanara army, crushing under him a lot of Vanaras and also Rakshasas there. So that is the kind of war, you have with Kumbhakarna, who is coming charging at them, right? So even if you allow him to live, anyway he's going to kill. But even if you kill him, he's going to kill by by falling on the army, right? So that is he's immensely ferocious. And Kumbhakarna, in fact, even without the penance that he did, right? So we mentioned the penance. In fact, all three brothers, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana, all three of them, they do penance. Ravana asks for this boon that he should be um, uh, he should not be killed by anybody. So he first, in fact, he asks for immortality, which is denied, and then when that is denied, he asks for it in a different way. He says, I should not die in the hands of devas, in the hands of Gandharvas, in the hands of Kinnaras, Kimpurushas, or any other kind of divine beings, right? Then he says, so these humans, they are like they don't have enough strength to kill me. They can't even stand in front of me, so I don't ask. So he looks at them in a very you know cheap manner, and he doesn't even consider them to be warriors. And that's why Rama has to come in the form of a human, right? Yeah. And uh, and on the other side, Kumbhakarna, he tries to ask, in even without the boon, right? Kumbhakarna was in fact powerful enough to defeat Indra. Now Ravana, because he asks for this boon, he becomes powerful to defeat any deva, including Indra. But Kumbhakarna, even without that boon, he was powerful. He could defeat any of those devas, including Indra. In fact, he wanted to ask for an Indra Padavi in directly from Brahma. That is a different thing. But then, even without that, he was very powerful. So, in fact, to stop him from getting any further powers, that's when the devatas go to Mother Saraswati and plead, and then the husband and wife duo of Mother Saraswati and Brahma, they they put him to sleep, right? And
Hey,
finally, Vibhishana. Mhm.
yeah, I just want to a correction. I stand corrected. Bhagwan has written that first Ram slices Kumbhakarna's arms,
Yes,
and he reels little bit, and then he severs his head off.
yes, that's in
Without
Valmiki
head,
Ramayana, same thing.
without head, also he charges,
Yes,
and then Ram had to throw many arrows and slice him.
yeah,
So imagine only then he falls, and a splendor rose from his body and advanced towards Ram and merged in moksha without any penance.
yes, yes.
I won't say without any penance. Apparently, in this birth, he might not have done any penance, but amazing, eh? But just
There
by
is
the getting a death by in the hands of Ram, that's enough.
yes. So for such beings, probably there is only karma kshayam, right? So they have done so much karma that it's only karma. They are anyways Jai Vijaya. They are in a very high position. They are the Dwarapalas of Sakshat Paramatma. So for them, probably it is just a little bit of karma that they need to do kshayam, and they will go back to their original position that they came from. So yeah, in that way, it is just karma kshayam for them, and they finish it by getting punished in the Lord's hands. Okay, those are parama pavana. So in fact, now, Lord Jagannatha is described as patita pavana. Okay, those who have fallen, he in fact, his Lord Jagannatha in Orissa, if you go to Puri, his flag is described as patita pavana. Okay, it seems if you look at the flag, the fallen are blessed. Okay,
Oh,
it
really?
is, yeah. So it is called Patita Pavana Bana. Bana in Odia means flag. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So that Patita Pavana, that Swami is, that Lord Rama is, dying in his hands is anyway purifying for him, and that karma kshayam is done. Um, so in fact, Kumbhakarna, like even Valmiki Ramayana describes it in the same way, that he first cuts his hand. In fact, Kumbhakarna, when he's charging, um, his speed is reduced to a great extent by Sugriva also. Sugriva also fights with him, and in all this fighting, in fact, Kumbhakarna is so huge that of course nobody is able to fight with him single handedly. Sugriva is also is a Vanara who has this Kamarupa. Just like Hanuman can become huge and small, Sugriva can also do that. Sugriva also becomes small, and he tries to distract him in many ways. That's what is described in the Valmiki Ramayana. That
No,
it's like
Bhagwan also describes that
yeah,
when Vibhishan comes and tells Ram that Kumbhakarna is here and he wants to just fight with you,
yes,
and many warriors have come and tried to intervene, but they failed. So
yes,
Sugriva actually goes and fights, and
yes,
Ravan actually catches him and Kumbhakarna puts him under his arm. And there
yes,
Sugriva escapes, biting
escapes.
his ears and nose. He bites it, and that creates havoc for him. So it seems they say that he will hit his feet and then jump off. So he kind
Correct.
of escapes by doing all of that. And
Yes.
that is where Ram says, Lakshman, bring my Kodanda bow,
Yeah.
and then he goes to fight with him.
So when he
So
bites off his ears and nose, this guy is now Kumbhakarna goes Ori. He's like, he
ferocious.
yeah. So he suddenly gets a fit of rage and he's charging. And due to that charge, in fact, a lot of Vanras are losing their lives. And then Rama takes on his bow and arrow, and then he chops off his hands first, and then his head. Okay, and like we described some time ago, his torso it still charges and falls on the army, and under it a lot of Vanras are crushed to death. All of these Vanras, of course, come back to life again when the Sanjeevani is brought for a second time. But that's what transpires with Kumbhakarna, and finally he goes back to his original Jaya Vijaya aspect, right?
So, so interesting, like how these characters are flowing in.
Yes.
But there is a one context I was reading in the Kumbh Ramayan.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just reminded suddenly of that reach. What is this? Rama's general. That reach. Um,
Maricha, sorry.
no, not Maricha. The grand old sire, yeah, who is in Rama's army. Bhalu, Bhalu. Um,
Oh, he's
Jambant.
Jambavanta. Yeah, Jambavanta.
Jambant ji. They are describing in Kambu Ramayan that Jambavant was slightly shorter than Kumbhakarna.
Hmm.
So imagine the size of Jambavant. And he had equal powers.
Totally.
So when I compare, you had, that means Jambavant was like a positive side of Kumbhakarna, in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
And we had discussed about, I was discussing about that when sorry, Sugriv suggested that we should have Shivling Puja before
Hmm.
proceeding to Lanka. And that is where they are looking for a priest.
Hmm.
It is in Kumbh Ramayan, it is Jambant who is sent as a messenger to Ravan
Okay.
because of the linkage of his father, relationship. So he's kind of an uncle to him. So probably that would help. So when Jambant goes and presents his case, Ravan laughs and he says, yes, I understand you have come. But then Jambant tells him one thing. and I just remembered that story right now. Jamban says, but you know that you are here, I can catch you and kill you.
Try.
Have you thought of that? You know,
Uh,
that is what Ravan makes a statement. I'm sure they must be trying to measure each other. And Jamban laughs at that. He said, Ravan, I guess you have not forgotten who I am. Like, I can alone destroy the whole thing and go back. Okay. But because I'm bound by Ram's instruction and I'm here for a cause, so I will not do any such thing
mm,
because I'm not allowed to.
yes.
So imagine the approach which Jambalji is presenting to Ravan.
Yeah.
And he says, but by the way, even if you get this cruel, dirty thought, cute thought to harm me, I want to let you know the backdrop of it. Then you can decide. He said, before I
Mm,
came, Lakshman had the similar thought.
mm,
Lakshman presumed that you will, do something this stupid.
yeah.
And so what Lakshman has already done is that he has invoked Pashupastra
Okay.
already. How, I don't know the mechanism and all, but it is written there that he has already invoked that and he has transfixed it that
Mm.
in case you touch me, in case you do anything, that would trigger the vibration and Pashupadastra will start off
Okay.
and which will not only destroy you but will destroy everything, whole Lanka, which Lakshmana has already done that.
Yes.
So here, even though I can do it, but I am bound by Ram's conditions, so I cannot. I am only a messenger.
Yeah.
So I will not do anything of that nature, but Lakshman has already done it.
Okay.
So you want to try, you can try. And then when he tells that, Ravan immediately realizes it seems Pashupatastra is such a weapon. It was Shiva's gift. So it
Yeah.
is such a weapon that only one person at one time can invoke it.
Mm.
And if it is
Yes.
already invoked, another person cannot invoke it.
Yes.
So even though Ravan had it, he could not counter it.
Mm.
So there was literally no counter for Pashupadastra.
Right.
So imagine the intricacies of Ramayana when you're looking at it, like each character was so advanced.
Yes.
So I'm reminded because of this, combination of, Kumbhakarna, that Jambant was equally that strong.
Oh, yes.
And here is Lakshmana who is sitting outside and saying, I have fixed it. Now you go. Now you go. If he touches you also, they'll be destroyed. So
Yeah.
Ravan then very diplomatically he laughs, it seems, and he says, "Hey, I was just kidding, I was just saying that. You know I don't mean it. You are like my uncle.
Okay.
So since you have offered me and this privilege, and then Ravan turns the whole tone different. And
Yeah.
it seems right that Ravan says that this is the first time anybody ever, imagine Ravan lived for so many years, and he says, this is the first time ever that somebody has treated me as a Brahmin.
Okay.
All my life I was treated only as a Rakshasa,
Okay. So this is Kamba.
Kambrahman. So this is
Oh.
the first time somebody has offered me respect of a Brahmin and
Mm-hmm.
invited me the preceptor. The
Okay.
preceptor means a higher position, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how can I refuse? I
Mm.
accept.
Okay.
Then he says, fine, now tell me what next.
Mm.
And then Ravan says, looking at, then the story unfolds that Ravan says because Ram is on the run, like he's in the forest, he doesn't have any house, so there are limitations of fulfilling. So I take the responsibility of making sure that as a preceptor, his penance goes fine. But he does
Okay.
ask a question to him. He says, does Ram want like have this Vratam, this puja for Lanka Vijay
Mm.
to conquer Lanka? And he says yes. It is so sweet.
Yes.
And then Ravan, when Ravan comes to Ram, he blesses him also. Because
Yeah.
Ram comes to receive his preceptor, not
Yes.
Lanka, Ravan. So Ram bows down to Ravan and he says, Guru, tell me what you want. Then he says, Vijay Bhava,
Okay.
Shubhamastu. As a preceptor, he blesses him. So people
Hmm.
are looking at Ravan and says, how can Ravan bless him? So, these are very intricate stuff. And then when he says to Sita that now I'm taking, but you are my responsibility. You are still under my control
Hmm.
because I am the preceptor. I am taking you because I have to fulfill my duty. So then he goes and says, Ram, now you bring her. Imagine like the whole drama is written there. And
Hmm.
I'm like, my God, what kind of characters they were.
Yeah.
But you can see that devilness and the humanness and the Brahma all are mixed.
Yeah.
So Kumbhakarna, it's like another beautiful character. But here we have so many such characters. In fact, every character in Ramayana, if we go deep into them, study their journey of life, it is mind-boggling. It is sometimes unimaginable that people of that caliber ever lived and walked this planet.
Just because you mentioned Jambavan, one thing. So in Valmiki Ramayana, he says that when all the Vanaras, in fact, are in a situation where they have to cross the ocean. This is just before Hanumanji goes in search of Mother Sita, right? So everybody says that okay, I can jump so much, I can jump so much, and all. The turn of Jambavan also comes. He says, I can jump 90 yojanas, but I am an old person, so I can't. And he also says, in my heyday, when I was very young, um, I did 3 pradakshanas of Trivikrama. You know who Trivikrama is? He's Vamana. Okay, when Mahavishnu took the form of Vamana and he, with his three pad bhumi, he covered the whole Brahmand. At that time, I did 3 pradakshanas of Vamana. Okay, so just imagine how powerful Jambavan is. He's Brahma's son, in fact, he's Brahmaputra. Hmm. So that is the caliber, and he says, no, I can go only 90 yojanas. It is all a design that was only for Hanuman to complete that mission, and therefore, so just like they say that the Lord chooses his instrument, right? This was such a case. Okay, and in a different scenario, Jambavan was chosen for a different dautya, like you just mentioned, like Duta. He went as a Duta to bring Ravana for another thing in the Kamba Ramayana, right? So it's just the situation, and the Lord basically he chooses which instrument to. Uh,
But Jagdish, I think this is a very great learning even in today's time. Because today, when we study something, we do some degrees, people get this notion, and we are like spoon fed that since I have studied, I must work.
hmm,
And the work, unfortunately, is so limitedly defined as something we do for profession, something we do to earn some money,
yeah,
something we do for independent life, as we say.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it is never as a fulfillment expression.
yeah,
We don't look at self growth or
hmm,
education as upliftment or fulfillment program.
right,
We look at it as fulfilling just a need or trying to achieve something which would probably give us something which may make us feel better.
yeah,
So here you have a very good example that each person went through a similar kind of an lofty education.
hmm,
They had, if you look at it from a physical perspective also, each one had caliber to do anything,
yes,
but each one remained in their beautiful, as we say, maryada.
yes,
They followed their dictums, they followed their nature such extent that even if, like him, he goes and he says, that's why I compared Kumbhakarna with him, that, Jambant and Kumbhakarna, imagine the similar stature
hmm.
of height and growth and all that caliber. And you just gave a very beautiful analogy of taking 3 pradakshanas of Vamana. at that time when he was measuring the universe. So
Yes.
imagine Vaman measuring the universe and him taking pradakshina. So these
Yes.
are beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
And but that person who could just leap, so from 100 yojana for him is not even a leap.
Hmm.
It's like hopping from one, just we take a hop. So for Jamban, that could have probably been a hop, but he says that, oh, I can't jump that far. So
Hmm.
obviously there is a drama going on.
Hmm.
But from a physical perspective, people get the perception that, oh, Jamban from Satyug, and this is Treta going on. So probably
Yes.
he's saying he's an old man. But how can you forget that same Jamban continued to live through another yuga and fought with Krishna?
Yes. He's a Chiranjeevi.
21 days. 21 days he fought with Krishna.
Yes.
So if he was old in Ramayana, then what was he in Krishna's time?
He's a Chiranjeevi. So
So it is a very, the whole calculation is mind-boggling. So I think
yes.
it is basically just to teach us how to live our lives,
Hmm.
not to get trapped into this myth of I have done something and I must do something to prove that I have done, have acquired some such education or acquired some skills.
Yeah.
It is immaterial. What
Yes.
is important is that what is my dharma for now?
Hmm.
And am I fulfilling my dharma duty
Correct.
towards only one goal, which is Ram,
Yes.
self-realization? So whether it was Kumbhakarna, whether it was Vibhishan, whether Hanuman, Bharat, everybody was calibered,
Hmm.
but they lived only with one thought to become Rammai. And I think
Yes.
that is where Bharat scored, because not only he served Ram, he was in the contemplation of Ram to such an extent that he became Sayujya with
Hmm.
Ram.
Totally.
Sarupya he happened. So I
Yes.
think in that context, if I may use, Bharat did score high.
Oh, totally.
He did,
Totally.
even though he didn't go with Ram, even though he did not, kind of do anything so glorify as Hanuman did, but he did what was the life's purpose,
Yes.
the role that was given to Bharat, he accomplished it.
Yes. Totally.
Right.
Totally.
I think that is the beauty of this, and everybody else achieved, but it is like the period they are taking, as you said, in 14 years he became a Brahmarishi.
Yes.
So even for 14 lives, we crawl. But here Bharat is showing that in 14 years,
Yes.
you can achieve that Sayujya.
Yes.
So I think that was an inspiration to Hanumanji also.
Oh, totally. Certainly.
But that give me a thought of Lakshman, who was always with Ram. Why couldn't he achieve Sayujya? I don't know. I'm just throwing a thought at you.
Uh, it's never mentioned that he could not achieve Sayujya at all, because it's already mentioned that he was Rama's prana itself. So is that not Sayujya? I think it is Sayujya, because
No, I
it is not.
agree, but I was telling that form, like that say that when you look at Bharat, like Ram also said,
Okay.
Bharat, you are mine,
Yeah.
you are my prana. But Lakshman, he would address it as different, right? So there's a different connotation for each one.
Yeah.
So that is what is interesting to me, that they all reached Ram.
Yes.
Everybody reached Ram.
Yes.
But there's like any path you take, the goal is the
Indeed.
common goal is Ram.
Is there.
So that is
Yes.
the beauty of, I think, Ramayan's learning.
So in fact, Lakshmana, the path that he chooses is more of Kainkarya Bhakti. So you look at him, he's always of service to Rama. So if you take the
What is
very
that?
nature,
Kankarya? What is Kankarya?
Kainkarya is basically coming from a word in Sanskrit called Kinkara. Kinkara is one who always goes and asks his master, Kinkaravani. So
Oh, what should I
what should
do?
I do? What should I do? Okay. So he's always in the service. So therefore, Kinkara, that kind of bhakti is called Kainkarya Bhakti. Okay. So he's always of service to Rama, right?
At the
So
call of Ram. At the call of
yes,
Ram.
Yes. And the very nature of that bhakti, if you look at Kainkarya, you necessarily have to identify yourself as separate from the other whom you are serving.
Yes.
Although finally that service goes to the Paramatma, the very nature of that particular bhakti is of separation.
Separate.
And
Separate.
therefore two different forms there. Although there is the common thread which is going, this is
Okay.
the, yeah.
Okay. See, Hanuman had to a earlier stages of Hanuman was not even Kenkarya. He was actually just waiting. He
Hmm.
didn't even ask. He was just waiting. Right. And then he became Rammai in his chanting. Then ultimately he became Sayujya
Yes.
when he got that himself, the divine realization himself, and he became Bhagwan. So yeah, but Bharat, wow, interesting, right? How we learn from everybody.
Oh, totally.
Kinkarya, this word is nice. I learned it today. So Kinkarya Bhakti.
Kainkarya
Okay.
bhakti.
Kinkarya. Kim Karoti.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So thanks, Jagdish brother. I think it was an interesting conversation again.
Yes, yeah.
So much to learn, and thanks to Bhagwan for this really wonderful opportunities. So, any final word before we close for today?
Yeah. So only one thing I think we have to learn from all of these characters, like you said. We have to learn the selflessness of Mother Sumitra and of her children also, of Lakshmana and of Shatrughna. We have to learn the dedication of Bharata. Although, see, in our world, it is very common. It's also expressed in a way that, out of sight, out of mind, right? If somebody is not seen for let's say, 10 days, they are totally forgotten. Okay. So in such a world we live in, but he was the one who had complete dedication and complete surrender to his brother, to to Paramatma, in fact, to Swami. And due to that, and that is the aspect that we should learn from Bharata. And from Hanuman, we should learn, in fact, execution. Okay. When um, you look at Lakshmana and you look at um, Hanuman, there is a small difference there. Hanuman is more of execution to perfection. He uses his mind there. But with Lakshmana, it is more of intuition. If you look at various scenarios in Ramayana, the communication between Rama and Lakshmana is more, they don't use words. There is just an action and both of them understand. Okay. So it's like one mind. They both share a mind. Okay. So so that kind of bhakti that you look at from different characters here. Okay. Hanuman is also a great example here, because we also have to learn how to think and how to execute, because the execution of the Lord's command is also that important. It's not that, you do it in any which way possible. You have to do it in the right dharmic way. So therefore, that is also something that we have to pick up. So all these characters that we talk about, they are presenting to us important aspects for us to imbibe. And once imbibed and practiced for a continuous period of time, I'm sure that this will result in positive growth in all of our spiritual sadhana. So that is the aspect that is the point of view from which all of these characters should be must be looked at. And Swami, to a great extent, he brings out these characters separately in Ramakatha Rasvayini for that particular end, in fact.
Wonderful. Thank you, brother. I think it's great. So we'll hopefully continue this journey,
Yes,
and
Bhaiya.
we have the journey is still on, and I'm glad that we are able to bring threads from different Ramayans, and obviously from Bhagwan himself. So it's a
Yes.
pleasure. And thank you for audience for coming and joining us. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, please feel free to write to us. The video will be available on the channel, so feel free to share. And Sai Ram. So Sai Ram,
Sairam.
Jagdish brother. Thank you.
Sai Ram.
Sai.